G'day everyone, welcome to this week's Life on the Hulls. Janet and I are taking a nice, well-earned break up on the northwest coast of Western Australia, and we're about to go see some dolphins, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, cool. And it's a very regulated affair, obviously for the health of the dolphins, and I was quite surprised how regulated it was, which is a good thing, because apparently from the 1960s they've been hand feeding these things, and now they've realised that it was actually detrimental to their health. So we're going to go up and line up with all the other people to watch the dolphins getting fed. I'll show you a quick bit of video of that, and then we're going to get straight into some boat work. Let's get into it. If you recall, at the end of last week's video, we started the installation of our Garmin Smart Pump Autopilot, and I created a shelf out of 20mm laminated foam, epoxied it in place there, and then came time I laminated it all to make sure that it was all solid and provide a vibration-free platform for this particular pump to sit. Now it's nice that I've actually been able to fit it underneath the bed bunk there, and it's actually out of the way, so there's not going to be any chance of entanglement on any of the hydraulic lines that are going to come through there. So I'm going to start to finish that off, and there's plenty more to come in this video. So anytime I'm using chemicals in the engine rooms, I always cover the engines up. I don't want them covered in flow coat, spray flow coat or whatever. So I'm brushing it. I'm actually brushing the flow coat this time. So once again, cover the engines over. I've got tarp in each side for each engine room, just to make sure that I don't get any of this chemical on the engines, or hopefully on some of the lines. There's a couple of areas I need to finish down inside here that could easily get it on my wiring, on my looms. I'm trying to avoid it and keep it clean as possible. It's amazing how quickly you can make something look like it was always there, just with a bit of flow coat. I mean, it's never pretty, but it really does integrate very quickly once you've done all the groundwork. And I don't like to leave anything unfinished. I don't like to leave a half finished flow coat job, because it just bounces back at me and reflects on my poor workmanship. So I'm better off to just do it and get the thing done. This probably isn't required, but I can't leave an ugly, unfeathered edge like this. I just hate the look of it. I'm better off to get some smooth lines, and at least it looks like I've made an effort to finish it. This is unfortunately what will slow me up with this project, is this sort of work. But I'll look at it later on and go, at least I did it right. Alright, so that's looking nice and neat where the grey intersects with the white. That took a lot of work to do that, but certainly worthwhile, because you end up with a perfect line, even though no one's probably ever going to see it. I will, and that means a lot to me. So we've got a perfect mast line along here. It's not quite perfect just there, but close enough. And our autopilot shelf is ready for mounting this guy. It's Australia Day, and it's 38 degrees and about 90% humidity. It's evil in here today. So everybody else in Australia is out barbecuing and having a good time. Not everybody, the ones that believe in Australia Day. And I'm at work. So Janet's at Marine Rescue running a big fundraiser for the day, or with all the guys there. I'm here trying to get some stuff done, but it is stinking hot. Seriously think it would be close to 90% humidity. It just feels like you cut the air with a knife. It's very close. Right, so in the galley here, I've been working away in here. Sorry if it's going to flicker for a second. I've got an LED light going on here. I have changed the frame rate on the film. But in here we have our drawer unit. Now what we've actually done is we've actually pre-purchased these amazing aluminium drawers. And they have heaps of compartments, and we can just simply put a face timber face or whatever we decide to put on the front. I've already mounted the top one, which actually is side mount in here, so, and they're soft close, so basically I put all my nuts and bolts in here. Janet's not too impressed about that, but that's the way it is, trying to get the place neat. But they're soft close. Nice thing is they're going to fit perfectly. What I've had to do though is, because the heavier ones, the larger shelves that we have here, actually have a bottom mounted rail rather than a side mounted, which is bolted to the side of the wall here. I've had to put in these small shelves here, these cleats. And I've actually put them in, I've glassed them in, I've put in a bevel here to make it look all nice and neat, give it plenty of support, and they're glued in glass, so there's no screws holding that in. And the soft close mechanism, which is this guy, will simply just sit on here, right up against the edge there like the other one. And I'll be able to simply mount these. They clip into a clip in the back of them, so they've actually got a small rebated clip there, and then there's one little screw that holds it in place, and it's a dead simple fix. And I'm really happy with this, because once again, anodized aluminium, don't have to worry about any corrosion, and the rails, the sliders, are actually stainless, so the whole thing's actually worked out very well. It's super light, a lot lighter than I would have been having a carcass and some wooden or MDF or something sort of drawers, and I'll be very happy to have that. And then we're going to just choose the door faces, which will also have a rail in between so that I can lock them. Now, even though they're soft close, and that actually holds pretty significant hold on the drawer itself, but in the seaway full of cutlery, that's going to fly open. So the door will need to go in. It'll have to have a push button lock that actually locks up under there, another one under here, and another one under here. I wish I'd thought of that. I would have left these parts here where I needed them, and I wouldn't have even had to do that. So, but anyway, I didn't. I cut it out in haste, as I always do. I could actually glue it back in. Actually, that may even be an option, but we'll work on that later on. I've been going at this drawer unit for some time, and I've got the bottom ones in. So these are quite nice. Yeah, nice and light, super corrosion resistant, obviously painted and anodized aluminium and stainless runners and soft close. And I'm just testing out a bit of Tassie oak, because I've got slabs of this everywhere for all the bench tops, countertops. You know, there's a whole lot of areas that are going to have this, and I just thought it might be nice to make the drawers and the doors out of it. So there's going to be double door here and a big pot slider drawer down there, and obviously the 3 drawers here. So I've just mounted this and put a clamp on to hold it in place, and I can take the clamp off because I've just put some screws in. And just take a look at how that's going to look as it closes up, and obviously I'll take it away and we'll dress it and sand it and trim it. Can you feel me, guys? Can you feel me? That's the type of woodwork we're going to be doing. Now this will be finished off with some sort of an architrave or something around the top of it, so it'll be similar to probably something like that all the way around. So it'll be a finish that'll look like that all the way around it, and basically obviously mitered, very simple woodwork stuff with a 45-degree miter on the corners just to hide it. So I'm going to have to open up these a little bit more, these openings, just to allow for, you know, probably 2 or 3 millimeters on each side. I think that'll actually look really good, and it'll be consistent with the rest of the boat, so happy with that. What would appear to be very simple cabinetry is quite complicated. This isn't what I'm going to use. I was actually just using a couple of scrap pieces laying around. I'll use this Tassie oak as my drawers, and they'll be routed and finished nicely. These were just some scraps I'd laying around, but mitering these corners in this 90 degree, I guess you'd call them architraves, to fit in where the drawer sliders are is a little bit challenging, so I've got to notch them out. And hopefully they're going to fit really nicely in here. Yep, that's looking good. Okay, so that's... Now the other problem I've got is that the curvature of the module is a problem for me. So I've got a couple of choices. I can either make it sit out here and then gap fill the top, or I can gouge into the actual module and make it disappear into it, and I'm sort of inclined to sit it out proud, and that will mean the drawers will be nice and recessed. I can adjust the drawers, however there's not a lot of wiggle room there because the sliders are actually hitting the outside of the module here where they sit. I'm sort of limited with my options, but at least it's going to look, it's going to look pretty complete when I get this woodwork done. But this is only really a test case as to how we're going to do it all. I'm going to get some cardboard and wedge it all in and live with it for a couple of days until I decide what to do. Oh, I've been working away at this for pretty much the better part of the day, and this drawer unit here, I've come up with the final concept with the surround and the cross beams. I've got it all sort of spaced out with pieces of cardboard now. How I'm going to put it together is I'm going to epoxy the whole thing together in place there, and then I can control where everything sits. The drawers themselves I know actually fit perfect. I'll take the faces off, and then I'll be able to adjust the drawer faces out to match the front of the surround. Now it will need to be filled here because of the curvature of the module here. If I'd put the drawer unit probably 5 centimeters further this way, I wouldn't have had this issue, but because it's actually going into the edge of the curve here, I've got to make it stand off, but then we'll have the bench top will actually overhang, so we won't even notice it. The only thing is I'm going to have to do it here as well, because I've got the same problem here with this curve here, and similarly on the other end. But yeah, I think that actually looks pretty good. That's in Tassie oak, and what I've been able to do here is use the one piece of timber for all the drawers, so I've got a consistent look, and it's not exactly book match, but it's pretty close. I've tried to keep the grains all in the same length and format, so it all came out of the one piece. But we did obviously lose the colour as we went further down, but I think once it's all cleared up it'll be fine. So our galley is going to have no propane or LPG gas in it for cooking, so we're having no gas inside the boat at all. It's all going to be electric, and obviously with 800 amps of lithium I should be able to drive an induction cooker and a microwave convection oven. We've actually bought a convection microwave that will suit our inverter and our needs, and obviously our battery capacity, and also with our induction cooking we've bought it within the parameters of what is reasonable. If you run both of them at the same time, you're going to load up the inverter, and obviously we don't want to overload that and blow fuses and the like. So I've actually bought a convection microwave that has a built-in function, so you can actually buy this surround to fit it, to make it look like a standalone microwave actually as an inbuilt. So it will fit here like so, and be built in and sit on top of this shelf. And it's quite the process fitting this surround. It has a number of attachments that mount it here, and there's also feet on the base of the microwave to elevate it up enough to make it look like it's inbuilt, but that will match our fridge. And then down in the bottom here we're going to have a pot drawer. However, the problem is I've got about that much room below the drawer, which is wasted space, so we've opted to put a 500 by 200 mil door on the front here, which will be piano hinged down, so it'll open like so, to allow access into the bottom of the shelf where we can store larger pots like a wok or some of the larger sort of pans that we intend to use, and we do tend to eat a lot of stir fries and Asian type food, so it makes sense to have room for a wok. If I just put in a drawer that's actually going to slide out, I'm actually going to lose about half of the space in that cavity there, simply to the fact that I put drawers in. I've done that on this side and sort of regretted some of it. I probably should have left the bottom one as a hinge down drawer to get access to underneath it. I'm working on a solution to that elsewhere, but yeah, so this, what I've done is I've used the same slab of Tasmanian oak that I used on the drawers on the other side, so technically we've book matched it, and then we're going to have that little fit here. Okay, acting on the theme that I'm working with here is the Tassie Oak 90 degree by 42 mil DAR, I guess you'd call it, or architrave or surround, and that is going to fit in like so, like that. And we've got one here. It's so easy to cut the wrong one. I've already made 2 mistakes, but we're getting there. It's just basic carpentry skills, this joinery. Right, so we've got this. This will have a hinge in the bottom. Nice. I like it. Alright, I've been busy in here in the galley doing the woodwork and come up with a couple of dilemmas because I've got a lot of curvature in the actual module. I'm going to actually move the frame of the surround, is going to have to move in by 5mm, so I'll just shorten this, move the whole lot in. The doors are looking really nice. Try to book match as much as possible. So we've got our drawer, our 2 doors here and our 3 drawers, and the other thing we have as well is another door here. So this will have some sort of a door here that maybe opens that way, perhaps, not really sure. Probably better to open this way inwards, so we've got access into that. Actually, I think it'll be better to open that way because then you've got access all the way up in there, because it's a very unusual shaped cupboard. But yeah, so I'm going to work on the surround of that tomorrow, and then I can get the whole lot glued. What I'll do is I'll actually glue the surround as one piece. I'll pull it together like a picture frame, glue it, and then I can just insert it into the module where I need it, and then we can work on hanging the doors as well. So yeah, they're all looking really, really nice in here. I've got the Corian top here. I'm actually looking at that thinking maybe I should just have a nice timber top on it rather than Corian, but I've got the Corian and I could save a lot of weight by putting the timber on the top rather than the Corian, but the Corian's going to look so nice and it will actually match all of the lounge suite here, the same, virtually the same colour grey, which is just purely by luck or by good management by Janet. So yeah, nice to get some bit of woodwork started. It's been a bit of a big day, just getting everything in my head how it's going to work. I've got a lot of work to do over there on the helm station and on the tops over there, but as long as I keep everything consistent, keeping the grains, and I'm trying to match the timber as we put it together, just trying to get it all a little bit more consistent, and then I can start to put on the Laminex, and once I start doing that, this thing's going to tidy up quick smart. Righto, so we're going to make a couple of handrails for the back lounge just to stop stuff flying over, and we intend to put some cushions on it, and we're going to make them straight. We could actually bend them, but it'll take probably all day just to bend one, and then I've got to do 3 of them. So I'm just going to make 2 nice straight ones, and we'll probably have a void in the middle. So we're back to the tube bender, and I've got my cheater bar here to work out my 90 degrees, so that's all good. And then I've transferred that over to here, made some measurements. For a 1 metre long bar we need 1350mm of tube, which we've got, and I'm allowing for 25mm over each end, and I'll just cut that to length once I get this bent. But I've got Janet up here, she's going to help me push. Not that she's got enough weight to help me push it, but I think we'll manage it once we get pushing together. Okay, all set up to bend the first one. The first one doesn't really matter, but the second one does, so we need a spirit level to put on it. So I'll put that stool under there just to level it up, and then we'll just bend this one, and then we have to level it up for the second bend. 1, 2, 3. Don't jerk, just look. Okay, you just push the pressure against it. Well, that's because it's a bit of flattening, but not too much. It's not too bad actually. Beautiful.
Good.
Yep. It's good. So do that a little bit more, need a little bit more hang because you got to allow for spring back. Not quite. See how it springs back?
Yeah.
Alright. This has got to be dead flat or it won't be right. Down a bit. That's plate 5. Perfect. Getting some bling on your boat, Jan.
Yeah, it looks good.
Does look good. Got all the bling over here, more bling here. They were fun making those.
They look good.
They look pretty cool, don't they?
Functional.
Yeah, we probably put a cushion bolster over. I may do one in the middle yet, I'm not really sure. Might need to run a winch there yet.
Yeah, well.
We might need a winch on there for the tender.
That's not a good place for it because you're going to be leaning on it all the time.
Right on the top.
Yeah.
Potentially a winch there just to wind the tender up. Oh, that's a good idea.
No, it's not. It's an awful idea. Messy.
PK coming in 3 days, so I thought I'd better get into a little bit more stainless fabrication because although he probably wants to do some fiberglassing or something, I've got a bit of welding to get done. Our new helm seat support is going to need a bit of welding. I'm going to need basically the upright. I'm going to use that as one of the main supports. We're going to actually weld this one onto here, this one onto here, and then I'm going to have a subsequent support or an additional support here, which is actually going to hang down and then intersect with the back of that. And then there'll be 2 plates along the top here that'll actually engage into the seat. So it's going to be a pretty strong structure, but I do need it done. So I've just spent an hour or so notching that particular piece there. I do now need to make another piece to match this upright here, which will hang from the ceiling here down and come here and make an extra handhold, which will be really, really good as a support. And particularly, you can't have enough handholds in a boat, and it will also add significant strength to the structure of the seat. If I can engage it into this here, get it all welded up in one piece, which is possible once we tack it all together, I think it's going to be absolutely superb. All right, that is the final and probably about the 15th iteration of the helm seat. I've got it in the right position now. What I have to do is work out where the brackets go underneath. It's the perfect height, and what I've tried to avoid is having our back hitting the top of the coaming here. I wish I'd made the coaming further back and then I could have utilised the swinging seat, but we'll have to do that later on. I'm wondering whether I still need a bar between these two, although this isn't doing anything other than supporting the lower bar, which is pretty strong anyway. So we'll see. I'll have a chat with PK on Monday about that and we'll see what we can do. But there's a few things he's going to be welding up. There's a lot of joins there, the poor bugger. And then I'll be getting in and polishing them. Probably do that all up in the factory. I can take this whole unit up into the factory and polish it all in one piece, and then ultimately I can get a better job while I'm up in the factory where I can concentrate on it and have light and not have other things to distract me here on the boat. So the seat height was also pretty critical. We needed to be able to sit there, and particularly Janet, and anyone smaller needs to be able to sit there and see across the top. They don't necessarily need to be able to see the exact bow of the boat, but they certainly do need to be able to see across the top. So the visibility that we will have from about head position where you're sitting is about this. So that would be sort of indicative of the view that you'd be getting from the helm seat, which is more than enough. And really you only need to be able to see the top of the pulpits, because 6 feet beyond that you've basically got the water, and then you know the water's only 3 or 4 feet below that. So looking pretty good. So I've just been down and cut some 5mm 316 plate, and that is going to sit underneath here. There'll be one here and about one here. and that'll actually screw up into the base of the seat. And the great thing about that is that basically I can get a little gusset on each side of it that will then engage into the mirror finish tube here. So it's all looking pretty good. They're actually the perfect size, these little plates. Have 4 holes drilled in them, and then we can weld a little gusset onto the bottom to make sure it's dead straight. So you can see up here, these have 4 screws which are engaged into the bottom of the seat, and then I can actually put this on top underneath there, and that'll easily mount this seat. There is actually a sliding mechanism available that you can slide back, so that is another option to mount something like this and then have the sliding mechanism sit on top of that and then be allowed to slide the seat back so that there's a more of a standing approach. But right now there is plenty of room standing here. I mean, it's not a hell of a lot, it's a couple of feet, but certainly big enough. Not really that great for 2 people trying to cross, but you know, once someone's sitting, they can certainly do that. And I'll be putting in some sort of a footrest down there as well. So plenty to do here, but you know, nice thing, if PK can weld that up for me, that's just one more massive job that I won't have to worry about, and it just brings it sort of one step closer to completion.